Here. I'm founder of SAGX Associates, and this is my first live stream for 2022. And I'm going to continue on a video I did last year, obviously, probably a couple months ago about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and focusing on inclusion of persons with disabilities. And I'll link that video below. But this is something that has been near and dear to my heart since my son is on the autism spectrum. So I have been involved with a number of advocacy groups throughout the years to support people with autism. So someone asked me after that video about business incentives and perhaps economic development incentives to attract businesses to an area or attract talent to an area. So I was thinking about 3 different ways to go about that. And the first being the employment availability for people who do have disabilities. I'm particularly focused on neurodiverse talent is what they call it. So people who think differently. And there are some organizations and companies out there, and again, I'll link them in the comments below, the Precisionists and Special Stern, and there's some large companies that have neurodiverse programs. The one that comes to mind is Ernst & Young, has a pretty robust program. There's other companies that do as well. So having those programs in place that accommodate people who with that neurodiversity. Of course, there's the ADA, the American with Disabilities Act, too, to think about what you're legally required, but having those accommodations to make employment that much easier for people with those disabilities. The second thing is wraparound services that are necessary for people with disabilities. A lot of times they have medical needs above and beyond what most people do, and some states have Medicaid for people with disability. And there's different ways around with it's based on the disability and not necessarily income. And that's why there's that whole concept of special needs trust. But then also communities, if they have services that are for that specific need. So if someone has autism, do they have a hospital physicians who focus on autism in the area? That's another way to market your and one I did see, I think it was last year. I'll look it up, and if I can find it, I'll put it in the links. For the city of Mesa, Arizona, they had done a tourism campaign for families who had a family member on the autism spectrum. I think it was them, but I will put it in the comments. Do they have social services? Are there things like just even being recreation and having things to do that accommodate people who have neurodiversity? And the other thing I hadn't thought of originally, but it makes sense, it's one of the reasons I moved to Delaware, is attracting families who have children with a disability. Again, I'm focused on autism, but this is across the board. If they have a robust special education program, and is that something that they really focus on? Because it does get complicated after age 3 with just how the federal law works. I'm not going to go into all of that, but every state, and in fact, districts look at this a little differently. And is that the right district and approach for your child? And are there different opportunities, whether they be private or public? What for your child's needs? What would that be? So that actually is a reason people move. There's several people I know here who've moved for their child's needs. The other thing is, like I mentioned with adults, there are special children Medicaid programs, but it's not in every state. So that's another reason people may relocate somewhere just to support their children's needs. And again, do they have social programs for their children, like adaptive soccer? Do they have other things that the kids can do, swim lessons? Across the line, right? So those were just some things I wanted to mention about perhaps looking at DEI from a different perspective. I know a lot of my audience is with business attraction, site selection, and I just wanted to bring that up for talent attraction and having families relocate and using it as a way to incentives to bring people here, but also market your community. And I'll try and put as many links later today as I can. But I hope everybody's doing well and look forward to talking to you soon.